Kisuk Muslim, Kisuk Kukya, Kisuk Quiet, Kapinishkesh. Hello everyone, I'm your host, Kanshuke Teshmiat, also known as Peter Not So White, and I'm coming to you from the Musqueam, the Tsleil-Waututh, and the Squamish People's Lands, also known as, the Vancouver, BC area. And I hope you had a wonderful Christmas. Again, this is my second time recording this episode. I'm really being tested this last week. Been really just being tested with my meditation practice and I'm being really tested, and I don't know what's going on with this video. So I'm figuring out a new way how to record these podcasts. Being tested, really being tested, because I just literally finished this last one, and I was so pumped about it. It was good, and of course, I wasn't saved. So we're gonna just redo it again, straight shotgun style. And I hope you had an amazing Christmas. I hope whatever you did over the Christmas, just relax, hang out, do whatever. You have traditions. If you don't have traditions, or you're creating new traditions, I hope you had a wonderful day, wonderful time. I just go home to visit family, and my day was good. Just had dinner. It was just a nice, relaxing day. And with that, I'm gonna say I'm gonna take a 2-week hiatus from the podcast, just to focus on some other stuff, just to make sure my mental health is in check as well, because I don't want to come at this podcast with bad intentions, with bad vibes, with bad energy. And hopefully within those 2 weeks I can figure out a new way on how to record, and then we can come back at this full blast in 2023, and we can head it straight on, because that's what I'm going to talk about. And there's a story I heard, on social media, and it was quite fascinating. I really, really liked it, and then we can tie it into society. And animals are very gifted. They used to say, the indigenous people of Turtle Island, we were also gifted with that sense of Mother Nature and things like that, and those ways have fallen asleep within us. And animals, they still have that connection. And there's a herd of cows, and then there's a herd of buffalo, and the cows, they can sense the storm is coming. Also the buffalo, they can sense the storm is coming. So what the herd of cows, what they do is they start running, because they know that storm is coming. But what do you think they do? Well, they run away from the storm. How most people would do in life. They run away because they don't want to face that storm head on, because it's a storm. And it's crazy how society has subconsciously put that in life. You know, when you watch movies and things like that, you know, say a tragic situation has happened, a bad situation has happened, something bad happens in a movie, a breakup, you know, or something like that. Most times in those scenes is you'll see two people. If it's two guys, most times they'll sit down and, because they're having troubled times, and they'll drink a beer. And sometimes they won't even say anything, they'll just drink a beer. And then with women, most times women will like go out and get wasted and drink wine and, you know, forget what's just happened. And that's running away from your pain. That's running away from your emotions. That's running away from the situation that happened. And that's like those cows. Those cows are running away from the storm. You're running away from the storm. You're numbing it through alcohol or through some type of drug. You know, and in rap songs, it's really well known that rappers talk about smoking weed to numb the pain, which is kind of toxic. What you think, right? Like, you're not going to face your emotions, so you're just going to numb it. That doesn't make sense to me. You know, it just doesn't. But in society, it's a normal thing, right? Something bad happens. You have a breakup. You want to go get wasted. You want to black out. You want to forget about what has happened. You know, society is so quick to point fingers at everyone else instead of pointing a thumb at themselves once in a while. Because everything that happens, you know, I'm a true believer that everything happens for the right reasons. But sometimes they happen because of us, because of what we do, on the situations where we put ourselves, in certain circumstances where we have put ourselves in that environment. You know, like when there's, I'm sure you've heard of stories of this, or you know someone, or you may have been that kid when you were a kid, or you have a child, and you say, don't touch that hot element, it'll burn you. And that kid, they still go and touch that hot element, and they get burnt. Well, it wasn't the parents' fault. It was that kid's fault, because they told them not to do it. But yet they still went and touched that element. Isn't that funny? But like, people are like, oh my God, that's bad parenting. Don't blame the parent. But it wasn't the parent that did that. It was that kid that did that. You know, the same thing with me in my cancer situation. I took all the blame on that situation. I did. I'm the one who said, hey, Peter, you were the one who was eating crappy food, who was drinking alcohol like it was going out of style, you know, and then I would wake up still drunk from the night before, and I would order pizza, and I would eat crappy food, and I would eat like chips and pop, and I was fueling my body with things that wasn't good for my body, you know, and I'm not saying it's not good to have those once in a while, but not all the time. They're called treats for a reason. You know, you have them once in a while. And I was the one who did that to myself. I'm the one who picked up that food, who picked up that alcohol, who were doing those things to myself. And when you start to take the blame on situations, life gets crazy. Life will start to get crazy in a good way, you know? And that's the same thing in relationships with people. when they break up, they're like, oh, and they bash their ex-partner. They did this and they did that, blah blah blah, like looking at them and like pointing out all their faults, instead of not realizing that, hey, maybe I had faults too in this relationship. Because it takes two people to be in a relationship, right? Most times. Because you can have a relationship with yourself as well. But in a physical world, you have to have two people to have a relationship, right? And people are always so quick to be that cow, to run away from the storm. You know, saying, oh, that person caused the storm. My ex-partner caused that storm. That's not me. Blah, 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 right? Instead of looking at what they could have done as well to make that relationship work. And if it didn't work, that's okay. But don't go around just putting all the blame on that other person, saying it was all their fault. When you might actually have, or you do, you have a cause in that for not working. And people are like that today in society, and I see it all the time, and it's honestly, it's not very healthy for yourself, because you're running away from those things. You're running away from that storm. You're depressing those feelings. You're suppressing the feelings, which creates depression. You know, when you suppress things, it creates depression. It creates anxiety. It creates anger. It creates hate. And all these things, they can create cancer. They can create other diseases in you. All just from your emotions, by not facing them on, you know, by running away from them, by trying to escape them, by trying to numb them. And you know, and I've been that exact same way, especially in relationships. In my relationship before the pandemic, you know, something kept coming up, a certain thing in my relationship. Everything else was good, except for I couldn't show affection, you know, and I had abandonment child issues as a kid. And that wouldn't let me 100% fully open up to that person, to be 100% vulnerable, to show who I truly was, to, you know, to actually be affectionate with that person needed and that person wanted at the time, to feel loved. And you know, we all have different ways of feeling love and showing love. And a book I would highly recommend you read is The 5 Love Languages. And I read that earlier this year, and it really transformed the way I look at relationships. Even that relationship with myself, the main, biggest, most important relationship you will ever have in your life is with yourself. And when you can understand how you feel love and how you feel it, like there's different ways everyone feels love, and this book explains that, then you can start to express that to people on how you want to be loved and how you feel it, so you can feel 100% appreciated. And in that relationship in 2019, I wasn't doing the thing that they needed to feel that love. So they left. And that during that breakup, I had to own up to that. You know, I didn't blame anything on them. It wasn't their fault. And I had some friends say, oh, blah, 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 it's their fault. I'm like, no, actually, it was my fault. It was my fault that it didn't work out because of this. And I owned up to it. And that's what started me to heal. That's what started me to be that person that I was always meant to be. instead of just passing the blame on to someone else, which I could have easily done. Could have easily said, oh yeah, it's their fault, blah blah blah, my ex, this and that, and keep that toxic culture, instead of looking at myself and saying, hey, I have a problem. Also they could have may have done other things too, but I personally have something I need to work on to become better for that next one. And we don't do that in society a lot. And that's another reason why I think this stuff I talk about isn't so hot. It's not trending. It's not, you don't see massive numbers on it because it's not a trending topic. People just want to point the blame on everyone else. They want to be cows. That's why controversy is so hot. It's trending. And some of my controversial videos are proof. I understand that. It's clickbait. Everyone wants to just be clickbait and have that clickbait. So back to the story. So there's these buffalo, these bison, drinking some coffee, and they see the storm coming, and they basically run head straight on into that storm. They just go full blazing raid into that storm to face it, because they understand something different. And that's what I want you to do in 2023. I want you to start facing your stuff head on. I want you to start looking at it and dissecting it. Because, the buffalo, they're in this grueling storm, and they don't know how long it's going to last. It could last a couple minutes, could last a couple hours, months, decades. They don't know. But they do know that storm will eventually pass through. It'll pass by them. And you know what they get from pushing through that storm and sitting in it and being in it is they get that luxurious, replenished grass. They get that calmness after the storm has passed through, and they get all those benefits and those perks by merely facing it head on. And life gets better when you start to face things head on. Like when I was leaving the cancer office, I was just reflecting, and that's when I decided to say, hey, I'm going to take this situation and run head on into it. I'm going to start power dancing. I want to power dance, and that has drastically changed my life in a good way, and that's also given me the confidence to create things like this podcast, all by just simply heading straight onto that storm. And I've met some phenomenal people in this world through power dancing, and I've met wonderful people, and I have wonderful memories now, and I get to travel to Turtle Island. I've traveled to events, and one day I'll travel overseas, to do the same thing. And that's all because I decided to face that storm head on. And the same thing with my relationships. If I didn't start to seek counseling and to start doing the work and reading these books, I would just keep having that same situation come up over and 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 over again until I actually faced it. It's like me being that cow and just running from the storm, just on the storm's edge, just barely getting away from that storm, eventually getting tired and broken and beaten down and worn down. You know, it's you gotta face it head on. So for 2023, I ask that you head straight on into what you have been pushing off for some time. And it's not going to be easy. It's not. But it'll be worth it. You know, you'll reap the benefits of pushing through that storm. You know, I'm living proof. I don't have much more to say, but I'm living proof on, if you face some of your worstest, even if that's a word, scariest storms, life gets better. Life gets so much better on the other side of that storm. And if you follow me through my content, you can see the life that I'm creating. And I want you to do that for 2023. But you got to become that buffalo to be able to do that. You got to stop putting the blame on other people and just own up to the things that you could have controlled in situations. That's what I had to do in order to, become the person I am today. And it was the same thing with drinking. I knew I had a problem, and I had to own up to that I had a problem with drinking, and I needed to find a solution. And my solution was to quit everything, 100%. And that was me facing the storm. So for 2023, I want to create something phenomenal with this community. And I would like to talk more about things, if I can, on topics you would like me to speak about. Because I spoke about one subject that people have asked about. But maybe put in the comments on what you would like to hear in 2023. What would you like me to speak about? And I'll do my best to share it in a way, through an experience in my own life, somehow, some form, some way. Pray on it, and it'll come to me. So I will help you get through that storm. So with that, like and subscribe, please. Help build the algorithms on this content, on this amazing stuff. I hope you have an amazing new year. I'll see you in a couple weeks. Sukini, Dagas, and remember, everything always happens for the right reasons. Take care, all my wealthy warriors.